Mizzurna Falls is a 1998 open-world horror mystery thriller developed by Human Entertainment. The plot is incredibly ambitious, especially for the time that the game was made in. It's a game that I think that you should definitely play, but I understand if you haven't. It's a PS1 game, and it's an open-world PS1 game. It's pretty good, but it's incredibly obtuse. It doesn't control very nicely, and it has some extremely harsh time limits on everything. The game consists of 7 days, and you need to be doing specific things during those 7 days at specific hours, or else you'll just trigger the bad ending. So it's not a great player experience, and I get that. But I think it's a story that everyone needs to know about. Because this game deals with some stuff that you don't see other games deal with, even today. So this is a video for all of you that will never play it, because this is Mizzurna Falls Explained. The phone rings. It's Nos. Matthew has a visitor. It's James. He's stopped by to give Matthew a book that he's been interested in, but it's just a ruse. He's here to give him a lecture about educating himself, rejecting modernity, and embracing tradition. After he's done with his sermon, he tells Matthew that whoever the killer really is, he's gonna try and do something to Isabella, since she's the only witness left. Matthew calls Winona's house, but it's her dad that answers, and he says that she went to the hospital and that he is a little worried about her. So he asks Matthew to go there and see if she's okay. At the hospital, Matthew finds Winona sitting outside Isabella's room, almost like she's standing guard. Wolf walks up and asks if Isabella is conscious yet, and gets told that she's not. He then says that she better get up soon, or the bar will start to lose money. Matthew gets angry at this, but Wolf assures him that it's just a joke. As Wolf walks away, Winona says that he's the guy that saved her and Emma that night at the bar, when that creepy guy was hitting on them. Huh. Good on Wolf, I guess. And I have a feeling that the creepy guy was probably Samuel's. Matthew heads out and tries to catch up with Wolf. As he enters the parking lot, he sees Wolf get in a car with Bonehead. What the hell? Deciding that Bonehead needs to pay, Matthew heads to the bar, and he gets there right before Mel, who has his own bone to pick with Bonehead. Morgan shows up though and diffuses the situation, and while they're all talking, a call comes in, informing them that Isabella has woken up. Wolf and Bonehead can wait. Matthew must go and talk to Isabella and figure out the identity of the person behind all of this. Winona and Matthew rush to the hospital and find it completely deserted, except for an orderly that's lying dead on the floor. Matthew tries to phone Morgan, but he isn't picking up, and he tells Winona to take his car and go get help. He's gonna go and try and save Isabella before who knows gets to her. Upstairs, Matthew finds Isabella's room empty, and the guard posted outside is lying on the floor, writhing in pain. Matthew tries to get him to tell him where she is, but before he can blurt it out, Matthew hears Isabella's screams from the basement. He rushes down there to save her and sees her tied to a chair. As he tries to loosen her bonds, Bonehead shows up and smacks him in the head. Bonehead pulls out a gun and points it at Matthew, and a gunshot is heard. Bonehead clutches his arm. He's the one that's been shot. James shot him in the arm and saved both of them. He didn't do Bonehead in though, and Bonehead manages to escape during the whole thing. Isabella says that they must hurry. Wolf is the culprit behind the whole thing. He takes girls and gets them hooked on Epoch and turns them into his slaves. James and Matthew haul ass and head for the Aston Farm warehouse. There are no immediate signs of either Wolf or Emma at the warehouse, so James and Matthew split up and search the premises. Matthew hears some noises from a room, and in the room, Bonehead is pouring gasoline all over the place. But more importantly, Emma is here. She's alive. Since the whole Epoch thing is kaput, Bonehead and Wolf are here to clean up and take care of their final witness, although Wolf thinks it's a shame since Emma would have made a good slave. Matthew pulls out a lighter and threatens to set all of them on fire, and Wolf pulls out a gun and points it at Emma's head. Bonehead suggests they settle this thing with their fists, and Matthew agrees. Like so many times before over the course of the last week, Matthew beats the piss out of his opponent. Wolf yells at Bonehead, and the two get in a fight over who is to blame for their whole operation going to shit. Wolf shoots Bonehead, and then Bonehead shoots Wolf in the shoulder before Wolf finishes Bonehead off. The bullets flying around everywhere sets the warehouse on fire, and Wolf escapes, dragging Emma with him. Matthew chases after them through the burning warehouse. He corners them on the roof where Wolf attempts to empty his gun into Matthew, but he's out of bullets. Wolf, realizing it's over, takes some epoch and begins taunting Matthew. Says he doesn't know how to live, says he's weak, and then he pulls out a knife and attacks Matthew. Matthew beats the shit out of him and walks over to Emma, but just as he does, Wolf tries to attack him but is shot by someone from a distance. He tells Matthew that it's too late, that Emma is addicted, that she will never be the same, and then he falls to his death. It's over. Bonehead and Wolf's corpses are found and taken to the morgue, and Emma to the hospital. She's in critical condition, but she will pull through. In the light of tonight's events, it doesn't seem like Dennis was behind things after all, and probably had very little knowledge of the drug operation, if any. Matthew thanks Morgan for shooting Wolf before he could end him, but Morgan says he didn't do it, and that there are no reports of anyone doing it. As they are standing around being confused by this, one of the deputies runs over and says that the ambulance with Emma in it never arrived at the hospital. The cops rush to the hospital, but Matthew knows it's not gonna be a logistical issue, and he makes his way to the forest. He runs into Cohen and asks him what he's doing here. He tells Matthew that something is wrong with the forest tonight and that they need to hurry. They run towards the ritual tree and find Emma. She's unconscious but alive. Cohen thinks they interrupted whatever was about to happen, and then he's shot. It's James. James is behind it. James has been trying to perform the ritual with the girls. He's the one that's been manufacturing epoch, which is essential to performing the ritual, and was the missing piece the military and Cougar couldn't figure out. Apparently, the only reason the whole thing didn't go right on the 24th was that a bear did attack them and interrupted the whole thing. Kathy was injured, James was injured, and Emma, she ran off. Wolf must have found her and kept her alive, knowing that if James performed the ritual, then there would be no more epoch, and he couldn't have that. James demands that Matthew give him the necklace. Matthew says he could just destroy it. James might shoot him, but it would ruin his chances of performing the ritual. James shoots Matthew in the arm to make a point. And then James is shot by the barely alive Cohen. Emma wakes up during the commotion and runs off. Cohen tells Matthew to take his gun and end things. Matthew chases after James and Emma and catches up to them. Emma says that she doesn't know where she belongs in this life, a normal thing for a teenager to worry about, but who knows if it's just that with all the epoch in her system. James is here. Cohen shot him good and he's not doing too well. He downs some more epoch to regain his strength, at least enough to really fuck things up one final time. He rambles on. He downs more epoch and gets a little more crazy than he already was. Exclaims that he's no longer a human, that he exists outside time, and that not being immortal is worse than never having existed at all. James pulls out a gun on Matthew, but Matthew pulls his faster and shoots him. James takes a tumble off a cliff and into the dark waters below. Matthew falls backwards and lands on his back. He looks up at the full moon as the sky changes and swirls. Matthew survived. The forest became calm again. Isabella left town. Dennis's involvement with the epoch trade remains unknown. The hermit that kidnapped Isabella was never caught. How Cougar learned of the Death Journey ritual was never discovered. It is unknown if Liz's parents' accident was just a coincidence.
We don't know how much the military has found out about the Death Journey ritual now.
side.